lost credibility throughout this city. So I just feel that NYCHA residents are disrespected because they're predominantly black and brown, low-income people. And folk just don't care enough about NYCHA. And just to listen to this hearing, listen to what you're saying and how you're justifying all of this is a damn shame.
I am Kim Smith reporting live for WKIM TV. We're here in City Hall about to enter into the chambers where the Jacob Riis Houses hearing has been moved to adequately accommodate the residents for the upcoming hearing. The residents of the Jacob Riis houses were outraged. They went to a city council meeting at 250 Broadway. Unfortunately, the space was so small it could not accommodate everyone. This is the resident pushback.
So I understand some people don't want to go into the overflow room.
No.
But
We're going to all be together.
So I just want to mention a couple of things, and then you guys decide what you want to do, right? We're still in the time of COVID. As far as I'm concerned, that's not socially distant. It is important to have the press in there because then they're going to write this up and it's going to be all over the news for the next few days. If they don't
so that you can cover up the fact that you're not actually listening to people by letting the residents in there.
We need to let her speak.
I said I was just going to make a few points and then you guys can decide what you want to do, right? So the press needs to cover this so that it's not just this hearing and no one knows that this hearing happened, right? Back in the day, they had a TV, you could hear everything, and then you get to come in. And as people leave, they will let other people in there. Having said that, go into the overflow room or not, it's really up to you. I certainly understand what you said. This is, unfortunately, they chose a small room. There's some other hearings across the street. As far as I'm concerned, this should have been across the street.
It's part of the course. 400 people showed up for a meeting like a couple weeks ago, and you really think it was going to be 30 people here? I mean, it's par for the course. This is how you guys do. This is how people. This is how NYCHA residents have been treated for years.
I was a NYCHA resident, so I'm very well aware of all the problems. All I can tell you is that sometimes this isn't a mistake. Sometimes they do it purposely. They do it purposely so that you don't have as many people coming in.
That's exactly. There's no reason for us to think that's not what's going on.
They want to shut down our voice. Our voice is not going to be shut down.
What you need to do is you need to demand another hearing in Jacob Riis. So that way everyone can just walk to the hearing, you know? So that's...
Why didn't the city council do that in the first place? They didn't because they don't really want to hear from residents. You know, if they wanted to actually resolve the situation, then you act in a different way. You act in a way that people can actually participate. But these hearings are about shoving it under the rug, just like Eric Adams did by going in and drinking a glass of water and saying, hey, everything's good.
I hear you.
Nothing's better than New York City water.
The mayor drank some from a faucet in a particular building right behind me, 118, but I'm still not a believer. It's a little comforting, but...
During the hearing, questions surrounding why that particular building was selected for the mayor to drink from will be addressed.
Residents, of course, are kind of in the uproar because they feel that this room is purposefully very small. They're saying the last meeting that was held, 400 residents came out. So to have such a small space, it's just, you know, of course, with all that they're going through, it seems as if purposefully people's voices are being stifled. Would you like to speak to that, sorry?
Well, it was not my hearing.
I know,
It probably wasn't done purposefully, but I can still understand why they're a little frustrated. So I think what's happening now is trying to rectify the situation.
Thank you so much, sir.
This is the
Yes.
This is the chair of public housing.
Just tell us like what's going on. The residents are very, understandably outraged with such a small space. So just talk to us about what's on your heart regarding this matter.
So much. My name is Alexa Avilés. I'm the council member for District 38 and the chair of the Public Housing Committee. And what we are right now in 250, we're another hearing room. Our hearing got moved from the chambers to this site, and this site is completely inadequate. So I understand why the residents are dissatisfied and angry. I am too. I think given the level of importance of this issue and how emotional it is for the residents, that again here we are in a substandard situation.
The last meeting, 400 people showed up for the hearing. So for this meeting to
she's talking about the community meeting that was held at Riis.
Right.
Absolutely. The space was bursting at the seams. No, I think we absolutely expected a good number of residents to show up, but obviously it's the middle of the day, people are working. So, as far as I'm concerned, these hearings, for the public, should be held actually much later during the day so that working class folks can actually participate. So, I think it's hard to tell, who attends hearings. I've been in a ton in my short tenure. But they're designed for folks who are working in government to happen in the middle of the day. And that's something we should change.
Last question. Sure. Are you intending to maybe have another meeting at Riis in the near future since this space is so
That's
inadequate?
a really great question. I think we'll see what the TA president at Riis really, my role is to take her lead and to take the residents' lead. So I think if the residents are demanding another meeting at Riis, I think we should absolutely have it. They should consider, again, location, If we know it's going to be in Riis, there's probably going to be more resident participation. It needs a bigger space so that everyone can be accommodated.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maribel Soto. I live in 1223 FDR Drive. That's the Jacob Riis houses. And for over 5 years, I've been calling and complaining that my water has been coming out and it smells like sewage. And they come and they check and they tell me that it's all in my mind.
We had a press conference in my district with pink houses, with boulevard houses, with Linden houses, with Cypress houses, with Brookline, Penworthman, and all of them said their water was discolored. And you're not supposed to smell water. It's supposed to be odorless. So this is a city-wide situation.
You smell it. It's horrible. When you take a shower, your eyes are burning. It feels like they're on fire if it goes into your eyes. And at the end of the day, I feel that it's unfair because I've been telling them all the time, but they've been like, it's okay. Then, not only that, since March, I have had no gas.
I'm sorry, you said since March?
Since March, I've had no gas. All they gave me was one hot plate. That's it. What's going on? I have no gas, contaminated water, but yet I'm paying rent. For what? So I could die?
My name's Kelly Trooper. I work with a group called Dare to Struggle. We've been working with NYCHA residents, mainly in Queensbridge, around the deplorable conditions of mold, asbestos, peeling paint, lead paint, that are chronic problems in pretty much every NYCHA facility across the city that people have to live in. We saw what was going on in Riis and united with people there. Beyond the water, in Riis we found out that entire buildings or entire sections of buildings have been without gas for months.
I just spoke with a resident about that.
This was just another example that unless people had stood up and said that and demanded that people be heard and not shoved into a tiny room off to the side, then it wouldn't have happened, and that's what needs to happen.
Aside from organizing, what strategies do you think can be implemented to make a truly effective change across the NYCHA portfolio? Because we've been here decade after decade after decade.
I think that we really have to rely on the NYCHA residents themselves and mobilizing people.
But then after the mobilization, I'm asking, after the residents are mobilized, then what? How do we hold NYCHA accountable? Because this is not the first time residents have mobilized. What's the next tangible step to make sure that we go from mobilization to active
effective strategy to see change?
I mean, one of the things that we've been doing is documenting all of these issues. They want everybody to deal with NYCHA one-on-one, put in a ticket that maybe gets resolved, next month, maybe gets resolved in 2 years, or maybe gets ignored and closed. We say people have to deal with all of those collectively, taking the opportunity while the press is here and continuing to mobilize in each NYCHA. All of the NYCHA residents need to be standing together, getting organized, standing on them by themselves, and not relying on the politicians or even the tenants associations who do get funding, and they do help in some ways, but they also they're a go-between. They're not an independent organization of residents that can actually confront this and demand these kind of changes.
Please be sure to tune in for part 2, where we cover the actual hearing, where there were some really hard-hitting questions that were asked by members of the City Council, as well as some levels of transparency from NYCHA. You get an opportunity to hear from the resident leader, the Tenant Association president of Riis Houses, and so much more. Thank you so much for watching WKIM TV, community journalism at its finest.